Hello, I'm Doug Edwards, Director of the Psychiatry and Behavioral Health Learning Network, and today I'm joined by Andrew Penn, an Associate Clinical Professor at the University of California, San Francisco School of Nursing. Mr. Penn is a co-investigator on the USONA-sponsored psilocybin-facilitated therapy for major depression study, a founding member of OPENurses, and is on the steering committee of the Sana Symposium. Welcome, Mr. Penn. I'm delighted you could join us today.
Thanks, Doug.
So my main question for you today is, what are the key categories of psychedelics that mental health professionals should become familiar with?
Well, really, there's three that are in later stage development. Actually, one is already on the market, and that's ketamine. So ketamine, most of us are familiar with as a anesthetic and a rapidly acting antidepressant drug. And this is being used in a psychedelic paradigm in something known as ketamine-assisted psychotherapy. So ketamine is already available and is being used by various practitioners around the country. The other two that are in later stage development would be MDMA, which would be indicated upon completion of phase 3 trials, which are currently underway for treatment in conjunction with psychotherapy for PTSD. So that is in middle late stage phase 3, and in phase 2 is psilocybin assisted or facilitated therapy for major depression.
What do you think the timeline is for, you mentioned we have ketamine available now for major depression. What's the timeline you think for MDMA and psilocybin being available to mental health professionals? Is it a few years down the road?
Yeah, it's definitely probably within the next 5 years, if not sooner. There's a lot of moving parts in a trial, and certainly COVID has has slowed some of the trials down, but they're starting to pick back up again. The MDMA study is over halfway through. It's now moved into the second phase. There are two companies working on developing psilocybin for major depression, and they're a little further behind, so that's probably 3 or 4 years down the road. But these are difficult things to predict.
Yes, it's certainly a moving target in the time of COVID, as well as research does take time,
Really
especially on compounds like psychedelics. And Andrew, can you tell us a little bit about OPENurses and the goal of this new organization?
Yeah, so as you mentioned in my intro, I'm a nurse by training. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and I founded OPENurses with 3 colleagues from the California Institute of Integral Studies psychedelic therapy and research training program that I went through a number of years ago. And we founded OPENurses for a number of reasons, but primarily because we believe that nurses have a lot to contribute to not only psychedelic research, but the delivery of psychedelic therapies. And we found that there were a number of nurses who were interested in this particular topic, but hadn't quite found each other yet. And so as we began to talk to other nurses around the country and around the world, really, we found that there were a lot of people who were interested in this who were trained as nurses or were allies of nurses. So that's why we founded this organization.
And if people want to learn more about OPENurses, where should they go?
Yeah, I would encourage them to come to our website, which is openurses.org. It's OPENURSES.org. So there's only one N in the phrase, but openurses.org is a great place for them to go. We do have a private Facebook page, which people can apply to join, which also allows them to have more conversation between other people who are like-minded.
Well, thank you, Mr. Penn. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you can join Mr. Penn and myself to learn more about the latest in psychedelic research and treatment strategies for mental health and addiction professionals at the inaugural Sana Symposium, which is a virtual event taking place this September from the same team that brings you Psych Congress, the evolution of psychotherapy, and the national conferences on addiction disorders. Be sure to visit sanasymposium.com to learn more and to register.